The academic learning centre is great, but sometimes it can be too generic. So we want to be content specific and give that individualised, tailored feedback. So
you publish this anyway because I think that might be my leverage if I can show something to say, hey, we need one of those.
the Tablet PC work we have definitely published because I was using that for just instructional videos. We've only just started on this quiz work though. As I said, I had to figure out whether I could actually do it. It was pie in the sky idea, can I do this? And I've just, with the pilot project, realised I can. So now, I have big ideas. Yes. I'll be one of the co-authors.
Now, unfortunately, you do have to cut it short there, so Sherif will run to us some questions. A couple of good points to take away there. Constructive feedback, self-assessment, but I think another one that was more important.
Recording stopped.
Hi, my name is Veronica and I'm a PALS leader. I think PALS is amazing because all the students just get in together and figure out their answers together.
mics there.
You could just pause it and then start again.
And it's flashing at the moment because it's on. I haven't actually paused it before. I don't know how that works.
That changes to a
So I don't need to slides. No, this is I found it just
stop it. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're always
so you press the
Then just to move my slide to you.
But I can do that if you want. If you want me to run over and do it, let me know. I wonder if we even need a mic. Or are we recording? We're recording. Okay, so,
Yeah,
so they need you've got the left and right up the top to flip through your screens. You just need to press that button when you're ready to speak, Mark. So that's green. And then pass it to the next. Just do that.
It's going to go green.
Yep. Just first so we can test the audio's working.
Yep.
Just give it a go now.
Are you going to click this on or no?
Test.
No, they're passing it around.
This one?
They're passing around.
No problem.
Just this one around. Did you want me to do it to one?
Yep, just talking.
Oh, where should we stand, guys?
Okay, some of you who just walked in the room might find it's a bit cold in here. We think it's because we've had a drink at the back, which might have, with the door open, made the air conditioning go on overdrive. So we won't be startled if halfway through you get up and start doing a few star jumps. It's normal for this environment in the military, so hopefully you won't have to. Hopefully it'll slow itself down and hopefully you won't end up in a cold sweat at the end of it. This next session will be led by Margaret and her team. Margaret herself is an educational designer at the University of Canberra and has been since 2013. She's had experience as an instructional designer, manager of learning innovation, support teams, online moderator and advanced skills teacher. This afternoon Margaret and her team are going to talk to you about academic online student support program that enables flexible options for study skills support. In particular, you should hear a little bit about enhancing student experience. You'll probably hear a little bit about engaging, inspiring and collaboration. And most of all, peer-assisted learning support. So Margaret, to your turn, welcome and we look forward
Thank
to the
you.
presentation.
Well, I should say that it's really, this is our team here, and can I introduce everyone? This is Polly Knightley, who looks after the peer-assisted learning at UC. Christine Barnes and Kirsty Baldock are librarians. And there's others also. We've got Sevalai here, yes. And there's another sort of 5 or 6 of us, and Kate. So we're kind of just here as representing the team. But we're all going to speak for about 5 minutes each, and what I'm going to do is just introduce this project. This is a project called Academic Online Student Support at the University of Canberra, and some of you may know that the University of Canberra has really been through a quite extreme cultural change, with the university about 18 months ago looking to increase numbers from outside Canberra. So that means, online blended. So already in the university there were really great support programs, and these people here took them. There were referencing, academic essay writing, grammar, a whole host of programs that students could attend and use to support their studies. And you'll hear more about these. But the aim of this program was to really create more flexibility and to accommodate students in Holmes Glen. We've got a Holmes Glen campus. There's students in China studying. One time we had a Blackboard Collaborate session and there were students in 4 countries: Afghanistan, Thailand, China and Australia. So those moves are in full force. So this is our presentation, which we've presented in this little package, which we'll talk about. And I'll just step through.
Margaret, do you just want to screen share that one, or do it on
Ah, yes.
Collaborate, please? Sorry.
Ah, yes. Good thinking.
Yeah. Now you can put it through.
Haha.
Okay, that. Now you're right.
Okay, so I'll just go next here. So this is the program, these are the goals, and from our Sapphire experiences with the online, we found that students were really in 2 categories. Some students wanted synchronous learning. They wanted to come in on live sessions with their classmates. Others specifically wanted asynchronous. So So, and they tended to be different cohorts. In one faculty we had in arts and design, we had one lecturer saying his students wanted online sessions, and the next office to him there was another lecturer, she was saying her students wanted asynchronous. So when we came to design this project, we kept that in mind, and we sought to provide both live sessions using Blackboard Collaborate and little on-demand modules. And what we've done here is take PowerPoint and a PowerPoint converter called iSpring Presenter and create modules such as the one that we can see here. So the main features, and now I'm just going to flip here so I can show you my photos. As I said, live sessions and interactive modules, and what you can see here is another one of these little modules created with iSpring Presenter, where it has interactivity, really sort of self-paced learning, but really great for short, sharp little modules. We went through the user experience life cycle where we had student focus groups. We brought them in and bribed them with cake from the Flute Bakery at Fyshwick, and caught some very hungry students and sat down with them, and they shared their learning and studying experiences. And from that we developed 4 personas. And here they are here. They're based on real people. This guy is actually 2 real people. One's my son's best friend, and one was a student from our focus groups. The kind of student that doesn't want to sit down, likes to move to learn. Didn't really take much notice of essay writing at school, and now's in university having to face that kind of thing. A student from a non-English speaking background. One over here doing a graduate program but finding problems with being able to use correct grammar. So they're our personas. And what we did was bring the live sessions and the modules together in a study support site that we're developing at the moment. So I'll just hand over to Polly, and Polly, I'll go back to the other. Down to pals. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Mark, and hello everybody. So my role is the team leader for peer learning, and so I run a couple of programs. One is the Peer Assisted Learning Sessions program. We call it PALS, some other campuses call it PASS. Any of you familiar with those programs or have them on your campus? So the idea is that they are programs where students who've done well in a unit facilitate workshops with other students who are doing that unit, so that they can give them activities and ways of studying and working collaboratively to understand the content better. And so we do these face-to-face, these sessions, and they work very well, and there's a long history of these sessions back to the 1970s, so it's well researched and works really well. The new challenge is to try and do all that online, particularly the whole collaborative aspect of studying. And the purpose of these workshops is that they should not be tutorials. They shouldn't be somebody just teaching. Teaching and Blackboard Collaborate seem to kind of fit together quite nicely, but peer learning and Blackboard Collaborate were a new challenge for us. So what we were trying to do was provide these study sessions on Blackboard Collaborate. We already had them face-to-face. We had an existing Student Resource Center community, so we used Moodle in order to, students would sign up through Moodle in order to do these sessions. We did an initial 2-hour trial of chemistry. We had 3 moderators and 9 participants. I have to say that in all of our activities, the number of participants has been quite low. So what I'm talking about today is very embryonic version of what I think someday we'll get to. But we just jumped in to see how we go. But as a result of our winter term trial, we decided to go on and be brave and see if we can do it this current semester. Oops. So this semester we put it into 7 different units. We got the leaders for those sessions to come in and do some training, which Mark kindly offered. They jumped at it. They're all, of course, being young and smart, are all over these kinds of packages and immediately had ideas on how they might be creative with them. And probably partly because they come from different units and have different kinds of perspectives on the world, they all found quite innovative, creative ways. And we completely let them loose. Do what you can, see what happens. And we will, at some point, probably before next semester, pull them all back together and let them learn from each other. Although, interestingly, they sat in on each other's sessions and they played around with it a lot before they started working. So it was a great sort of sandpit to have them try their different talents and skills in that area. They had already been trained. Obviously, they were already facilitators, so they'd already been down the training of knowing how to run a group session. They already know the content that they're teaching, but the next step was to how to figure out how to use Blackboard Collaborate. So with Mark's training, with them visiting each other's sessions, and then I visited a few sessions, which was also very interesting. So I sat in, sometimes anonymously, sometimes with my real name, just to see what was going on in the session. We decided to hold the sessions in the evening. I've read some of the literature and been at conferences where people are using Blackboard Collaborate with peer-led sessions at other universities, Tasmania and Darwin and some in the United States. It seemed to be very attractive for people who have children or who get home in the evening, put the kids to bed, and then they just want to get a cup of tea and log into Blackboard Collaborate and do their study group work. So we trialed it from 7:30 to 8:30 on weekday evenings. Each unit had one session, and we ran them for the 10 weeks that we normally run these sorts of sessions. We needed to have 2 leaders for each session. Typically, one would respond in chat, the other would do the talking, and then they'd swap over. They worked together preparing materials, so that was a nice team approach, and I think that was important. And the leaders ended up getting their own cups of tea and sitting on their own couches with their Ugg boots on and very relaxedly running the sessions as well. I had initially thought they would be coming into our center to be doing it, but that didn't turn out to be necessary or appropriate. So the attendance was really low. Sometimes nobody would show up at all, very disappointing. Typically about 2 or 3 people would come. Over the semester, the total individual students participating was about 25. We've yet to do the evaluations to find out what they thought, but we will have those, and we have had. I'll give you some informal feedback in a minute. The most attended unit was Systemic Anatomy and Physiology, which had up to 7 a week. That tends to be one of our units that's well attended in terms of peer sessions anyway. And in terms of feedback from the peer leaders, the positives, they said the platform was easy to prepare materials for. They were all on top of it really quickly. And I think the participants on the whole also figured it out pretty quickly. Student participants told them that they felt that they had been heard. Part of that is because the numbers were so low that frequently the sessions were very student-centered, of 1 or 2 students. And some of them felt they were getting the kind of support that they weren't able to get in other places. That's kind of not an intended consequence, but maybe a result of the low numbers. And in fact, what happened is some people came online first and then found out about the PALS program and showed up face-to-face later. And some of them actually morphed from the online to the face-to-face. But these are all things that we're working on. Some of the challenges or the negatives, challenging to make it a collaborative learning environment. It's difficult to, I think it's partly to do with the skills, partly to do with it being new. I think there actually is the potential to make it a collaborative learning environment, but getting students to work together, break out into breakout rooms and things like that is still in its infancy as far as our ability to make it happen. And as with all these sorts of things, always hard to gauge participants' comprehension. And I think, again, our leaders are developing skills to figure out how to make that happen quickly. The person sitting online doesn't want to say they don't understand, so they sit quietly. The person's asking the question, and it makes it move too slowly. So there have to be ways of raising hands and quickly doing things to keep it going. There was a little time required to bring some participants up to speed with the technology, although, and I've put that down as a negative. Negative's a bit strong, I should have written challenges. But in fact, most people did come up to speed, and we had expected this to be a very big deal, that, you know, that getting people up and running, but in fact it was not such a big deal. And some of the leaders reported it was difficult to assist students at different levels successfully, which is difficult in any classroom setting, but perhaps it has some added complexities. Some of the tips from some of our leaders who really seem to make something work. We have some great leaders who are both education students and IT students. They make fabulous peer leaders for the Introduction to IT unit. When you logged into their session, you immediately got this Pixar video, entertaining video while you waited for the session to start. You immediately thought, oh, something good's going to happen here. They got all the students to do lots of drawing and playing around, get the students, you know, like really sort of priming the pump so they felt okay to draw and play and compete and things. So they had good warm-ups every session. Always using two leaders, as I mentioned before, one to monitor the chat and the other to lead the session. And they used some desktop sharing, which was quite effective. So we have lots to learn. We're quite excited. The students were fabulous in terms of embracing, I mean, the leaders were fabulous in embracing it. We probably will move on to a more complete rollout next semester where we know a little bit more about what we're doing and where the students themselves can share their tips with each other.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Since you sent out something to the participants to say you must have a, you know, headphone and so on.
Yes, we did.
Was there any problems at all with the students connecting? Because we're from the start.
Yeah. I think there were not major problems. I didn't hear of anybody who couldn't connect, for instance. We put lots of information up on the Moodle site about how to connect and what to do. And of course, it's not compulsory. So for all I know, there were people who thought, oh, this is all too hard, I won't do it. It wasn't like a 100% attendance where you find out. Yeah, but anyway, it's all new and all exciting, and I think it could be quite interesting. I'll tell you in another year.
Absolutely. Just one other question. Did the students use the chat as well to send?
Students tended to use chat more than speaking. They were more comfortable with chat, although some leaders just jumped right in and made everybody speak before, you know, they really worked on that. Sorry.
In our library sessions, we actually turned off the video and the audio, so they had to chat. And we just had someone permanently monitoring the chat.
That's an
So
effective way of doing
we
it.
did things a little bit differently.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our interactive modules. So as part of the online student support project, we bought Camtasia and iSpring so that we could create interactive modules. And around that same time as we bought those softwares, we were contacted by an academic who was involved in the Common First Year Unit, one of the foundation courses for undergraduates at UC, wanting the library to help them with referencing, so provide her students with something to help them with referencing. So in consultation with that academic, we decided to create our first interactive online module, and it was called Introduction to Referencing with RefWorks, a bit about referencing and how to use RefWorks because it's a great undergraduate tool. Our design philosophy in creating this interactive module was really about engagement, to make it interactive for the students, and we did this through the use of triggers which are available in PowerPoint, to use audio and video to make it interesting, to give it a human presence by creating characters for it, and the use of interactive quizzes, which if any of you've used iSpring before, you can include quizzes in your module, which is something that the user testing was really useful. We had 4 students come in and use our module, so spend an hour using our module and using the quizzes, and from that we got lots of quantitative data, so the quizzes, with the iSpring, you can create a SCORM package that you can load onto your Moodle page, and when they attempt a quiz, you get lots of data on when they've started each of the quizzes, each of the questions, what they answered and what have you, and that was really valuable feedback for us, looking at how they interacted with the quiz. So lots of changes after that to assist them to use the quiz, one, and two, change the learning so they were better able to answer the questions in the quiz. So I'm just going to show you a few of the slides that we created, I guess, with using the triggers and what have you. So this is a quiz slide, and so I've used iSpring and I've altered it slightly so it just fits in with our PowerPoint presentation. Here is an example of how to do a wildcard search, and then I've asked the question, if I were to use this as a wildcard search, what are the answers? So if we... For people in the room, have people used iSpring? Do a lot of people have iSpring Presenter as a software package?
Is it a free software?
No, it costs, but it works with PowerPoint to create these modules that you can upload to Moodle. So that's just an example of a quiz. Here I've just used triggers, but with iSpring you can then publish it into this package. So this is breaking down your essay question. I'm wanting students to interact with this essay question and give me what the key concepts are. So if they click on the right answers, they get correct, but if they click on some of the others, they're going to get other answers. Yes, that's key concepts. And here I've just used, tried to give it a human presence, and I've also used triggers to trigger audio.
I lost a lot of marks for my poor referencing.
So this is just feedback apparently from the students, which is actually our librarians.
It took me 2 days to put together my reference list. Surely it shouldn't take that long.
Okay, so that's just a few of the slides of us trying to make it quite interactive.
Okay, our next step at the moment is to move on to do EndNote, which is a little bit more complex. We've actually had to divide EndNote into 3 packages because there's just so much to cover. So I've been looking at 2 basic modules that follow one another, and someone else is working on an advanced module for the advanced features. We're trying to use the lessons we learnt from the RefWorks package, so what worked, what didn't work, what feedback we got on problems from the testers, and trying to incorporate that into the EndNote package. We're also creating a Finding Resources package. That's really our big teaching area in the Library for Information Literacy, is how to find journal articles, how to find resources. So we're trying to create a package for that as well. Creative Commons and essay writing, other big things that we get a lot of questions about. So this is another format of how you can do the quizzes. So you can incorporate them into your page, or you can set them up as a separate quiz. And this is the type of thing you'd probably do at the end of your